Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, little children, dogs and cats, welcome back to another rousing rendition of the BREADren podcast and a segment we like to call Just a Slice. I am joined today by the illustrious Dr. Ajambu Loving, PhD, CFP. How you doing today?
Man, doing all right. Ready to put a little butter on the slice.
Hey,
Maybe some garlic, Italian seasoning.
hey,
You know, it depends on man. I feel like I might be craving an Italian meal and some spaghetti or something like that, man.
you
That's
know what? We
sounding
gonna always do our best to dress it up for the people. And with us both in the kitchen, it's very possible. Shout out to our illustrious co-host, Miss Alicia Brandon of HBCU Pets, hbcupets.com. Go get you some. And Mr. Justin Wells of D Wells Consulting, who is actually out and about doing a little bit of that consulting. So if you need those services, definitely check him out at Empower, Engage, Execute on social media. But Doc, I definitely wanted to get this conversation under the belt in a timely fashion. And I
like,
wanted to talk to you a little bit about recognition and retrospect.
man.
We can kind of call back to some previous episodes. I can't remember which season, but I was talking with DJ about it, that we had talked before about measuring progress. And
Mm-hmm.
so kind of in that same vein, I wanted to talk with you, like I said, about recognition and retrospect, because you recently were honored by your alma mater, not university, Texas Tech, and as an esteemed and distinguished alumni. And so I wanted to talk with you and talk with the people about, taking that time to not only measure progress of, seeing how far from whence forth we have come, like they
Mm-hmm.
used to say back in the Gap. Um, but the importance of recognition and retrospect, the importance of external and internal recognition, and also being able to take a moment within the journey at specific time intervals and saying, you know what, I was here and now I'm here. So just
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna throw it to you and just kind of, number one, the first question I want to ask you is, uh, since you maybe you haven't had the actual time, but if you've had time to
Yeah.
kind of, sit back and just think about like, oh, okay, I've been recognized and and they've labeled me and honored me as a distinguished alumni. So talk a little bit about that moment, and what it means and how that is, propelled and motivated you to continue doing what you've been doing.
Yeah, man. So it was interesting because the people from Texas Tech gave me her name's Donna, nicest lady ever. She sent me an email and said, we've selected you as a distinguished alumnus, and we'd like to honor you with an award. It has an entire gala planned around it, and you'll be the honored guest, and we'd like for you to speak at the event, give an acceptance speech. And it's funny because at that moment, I was thinking so much more about the things that I need to do, right? I've got speaking engagements that I want to book. Since, I'm no longer on retainer with any company, I need to generate speaking gigs in order to make extra money. And so I was thinking, hey, I can take the reel from this award and use that reel as some additional promo for my speaking, right? That was my first thought. Instead of even thinking about, wow, what are they thinking about me that would have them do something like that? Or, what have I done that deserves this recognition? My first thought was about what it is that I'm doing now
The
and trying to do
benefits.
next, right? Yeah, the benefits, but also like what I'm currently engaged in, what my next goal is, what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. And I think that's it hit me later in a more sobering moment. And I'll be honest, it didn't even hit me while I was putting together my presentation or flying out there or doing any of the promos because they came out to the university that I currently work, um, University of North Texas in Dallas, and they did, they had a professional person come out, one of their AV people, and shoot me around campus. So there's a lot of footages you can attest to now, AJ, of just me in different positions and teaching or in front of my computer. So essentially, they handed me a lot of what I needed in terms of personal footage to put myself out there. And so that was beyond me. It didn't hit me until I was actually at the awards banquet and saw a big blown up little placard with my face on it that, oh, like this, honors distinguished graduate alumnus, Dr. Ajamu C. Loving, CEO of Ajamu Loving Consulting. And it didn't hit me until then that, wow, I've done some things. And so, even in the promo, as I talked about being the first Black PhD in financial planning, um, and then also think about the hundreds of presentations that I've given, the thousands of students that have been positively impacted by my work. Some of them come back and talk to me and talk about how they use the things that they learned in my class to navigate their personal finances and their families, right? And they got kids. And then some of this happened a while back. So some of these kids are getting ready to go to college, go off, meet people, and have kids of their own. And you created an environment where their family could stick to certain principles and thrive. And I'm proud of that. And the nice thing is that you can see other people from a place like Texas Tech that could have honored anybody. And the other people who had been honored in the past, once again, the first Black one, and I was the only one in the business field, right? And so I get to be a pioneer again, even in that space. But it's a good thing to be able to sit back and give God, I think, the glory of you being able to have done something. There's a certain level of gratefulness in that when you're not just focused on that next thing you got to do and recognizing that, hey, I was a kid from the South Side of Chicago, and now I get to do these things. I get to present in front of these companies. I get to make these positive impacts on people's lives, and I get to have a good time doing it. Man, I'm blessed. I'm very blessed. Despite whatever issues that I have, we all have those, but I also have blessings to go along with.
Definitely. And you bring up a point that is, when you initially got the news, you were focused on the now and the future. Mm-hmm. The retrospective, the theme of it was actually retrospection and recognition. Yeah. But you were still, forging ahead, and that's the importance of, being able to, basically do both and not get too caught up in your old, your old laurels, but also being able to, move forward. But then also being able to kind of relish in what you do to take that time, because it is important. And I especially think it's important for people, especially when you're kind of in that tunnel vision, just forging ahead, like, not even taking the time to look back. Because a lot of times when you're forging ahead and you're on that tunnel vision journey, you don't know how far you've come, and you can feel like you're just grinding and not really making any true progress, which, harken back to the old episode of measuring progress, why it is actually important. Because you can kind of get lost in the sauce, so to speak, of the doing and not really understand and know and recognize that you have done something at all.
Right. Yeah, I think that is that is a very important point, right? Because when you don't recognize what it is that you've done, a lot of times you undervalue yourself. And you set your own value in some ways in the market, whether you know it or not. And so you can sell yourself short when you fail to look at all of the blessings you've already been given, because those blessings are your experience. And at the end of the day, with the type of work that we do, it's your experience and your know-how that gets you paid, whether you're standing on stage and talking about something, or you're building something that putting it together, or you're just bringing the knowledge that you have to a particular deal about how to get things done. That's what people are paying for. So those experiences are worthy of acknowledgement for multiple reasons, right? They're worthy of acknowledgement so that you can be grateful for the position that you're in life and be grateful for the advancement that you made, but also so that you can start to measure and systematize what it is that you're doing so that you get more of the good and less of the bad, right? And so those experiences shape you in a lot of ways and make you better at your job and whatever things that you continually engage in, but also make you better overall in life. So
Definitely, you two things. Because every time you speak, you giving me points like a preacher. Value progression. You brought up a good point about value progression, where you if you don't really recognize that, oh yeah, your value has progressed and increased on this journey because you've been doing. And if you don't kind of look back like, okay, I've done, like McDonald's used to always say over a million served, and then it progressed
yeah,
into over a billion served. They had to
right,
take time to look back and say, oh, we've literally served people for this many years and this many customers. The value has increased. What Fat Joe said, yesterday's price is not today's price. You got to kind of stop and look and say, oh, I've been doing this for this long, and I've been doing it at a high level for this long.
mm-hmm.
My value has increased. People are more important than things. I've helped this many people
Right,
progress over this amount of time. I was talking with DJ a while back, and I I just sat one day and I was like, dang, we've been doing this podcast since 2019, and it doesn't really feel like it because it still feels kind of new to us. Like, to be honest,
yeah, it's true.
we've been doing it since 2019. And me personally, I've been doing a form of a podcast for almost like 15 years now at this point. And
Yep,
I just sat back and I looked at, I went and found my old episodes from Area 21, the first and the second version of it, and all of our episodes. And I was like, oh, I've sat and edited, you know, almost 1,000 hours of podcast episodes, you know, and I've been doing this for 15 years, done, you know, and I was just like, you know, just kind of putting my stats on the board. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's good to do it because like we've been doing this for, you know, for this long at this point. And, you know, we got goals and things, but we're not rushing ourselves to like, oh, we need 1 million subscribers. We got to get deals and blah, blah, blah. Like, we're doing it for love,
man.
but we still got to check off them stats sometimes and be like, okay, there is a purpose for doing it. And I think that's one of the key points of the recognition and retrospect is understanding that, reminding you of your purpose. Because a lot of times the monotony of doing can feel like, what am I even doing this for other than
Yeah.
just doing it? And it's like, okay, I still have my purpose, and here is why I'm doing this.
Well, you know, hey, you have all these goals, right? You work to gain human capital so that you can leverage it in the market and get paid for what it is that you're doing, but also make your impact on all the people that you want to bring what it is that you have to offer. You know, you want to bring that to them. And when things don't go as quickly or as smoothly as you expect, which is pretty much always, right? If you're an optimistic person like I am, then you can have moments of serious doubt, right? And so it helps to go back and look at your journey and say, okay, first of all, I've had tougher spots than this one, and I came out of them. You know, just because I've been lent a level of comfort and started to get, started to get in many ways complacent, right? There was still progress, even in my perception of my complacency, because there's somebody else who's looking at what it is that you're doing like, dang, he's doing a lot. I can never do these things. You know, they may or may not be wrong, but there's something that they can do that I can't do. Right. And so we all have the ability to do something special. It is a great thing to have found your thing that you are special at. And it's confirming when other people come and say, hey, you've done something special here. Right. And so that's what I'm proud of. And I really am proud of the people who I have been able to positively impact along the way. You know, I've got students who were just learning about the idea of financial planning when they met me, and they are full blown professionals who now have graduate degrees and financial planning, right? There will be millionaires among, and heck, there may already be some among some of the students that I've helped educate. And that is something that I should be proud of, and I am proud of. But sometimes you need to take time and recognize to further reemphasize the point that you've done some great things. And even though you haven't checked everything off of your own list, there is a list on which you have had great accomplishments. You just need to take a return and acknowledge them, right? Won't you come? And since you say I'm a preacher.
But yeah, then I think, and you bring up another good point of it, it's the recognition aspect, especially the external part. It gives you, it helps with the perception of progress. Whereas where we see ourselves progressing is totally different than how somebody else views it. Like you said, where it's we're blinders on, tunnel vision, focused on the goals at hand, and we feel like we're just running at a single pace, but to somebody on the outside, we are blazing, moving at the speed of light, and they're just like, dang, you were just starting out. I remember when y'all first said that y'all were, doing BREADren, and now it's, 4 years later, 5 years later, and y'all are, seasons deep and, all of this stuff. And it's like, but to us, it's like, I was talking with you and Destry the other day. I'm like, it'll seem like we haven't recorded in months in perception to me. I don't know about y'all, but I'll be like, dang, we haven't recorded months. And then I'll actually go check and I'll be like, oh, we dropped the episode 2 weeks ago. But, it's like, but the external recognition, like when you and DJ say that, people will say, hey, I listened to that episode. Or when Texas Tech comes to you and says, hey, we want to honor you, you kind of think like, dang, well, what y'all honoring me for? I haven't really done anything. And then they like, no, you've taught thousands. And they spit, somebody else comes to you and spits out your stats to you, and you like, what, you got a point. Maybe I do need to take this time and accept these, these awards.
Yes. And do so with happiness and glee. You can see it in my face. I was very happy for the attention that I got, but also it was me being happy with myself, being able to reward myself for a job well done. It hasn't gone perfectly. I haven't done everything I wanted to do, but I'm still here and I still have goals and I can still press towards them. And I have a little bit of evidence that I am a person who can accomplish goals. You see, but when you only look at where it is that you want to go and don't take any time to honor the past, you potentially miss out on a couple things, and they could be some real important ones. But how it is that you should walk with confidence into what it is that you're doing, and if you aren't careful, you'll forget the people who you met along the way. And people are more important than things, but the people who are impactful on you and helped you accomplish those things, you dishonor them when you don't acknowledge that achievement. All those graduations, I watched, I've watched so many graduations, like at least 20 or so, more than that, really, now that I think about my whole collegiate and other career. But every time I watch them, there are family members who, even after they make that announcement, please remain quiet until all the names are announced, and we want every student to have their moment to shine. We ask that you refrain from photography. We have a professional photographer videoing the entire, like they do the whole thing. And what ends up happening? You see absolute unbridled joy breaking out. sometimes among the students, but mostly among those family members. That family that comes there, cowbells, you got Jamaicans with air horns, you get you got
Yeah,
you
and then
got
you got security wondering how did you get it in here after we checked you at the door.
got the alphas yelling one night, like you got everybody doing their whole thing. Why? Why are they doing their whole thing? Because they can see the embodiment of all that support, love, positive energy, meals, sleeps on the couch, all these things that you have offered to that person, and you get to shine in that moment with them, right? And so, yeah, you got to acknowledge that too, because then you run the risk of overlooking the contributions of these people in your life. And I feel like that is some of the most valuable mental currency that we have. To know that you are loved is absolutely priceless.
I think with that one, that'll bring to the final point of being able to see the lessons learned, and that's the value of recognition and retrospect, where I it says you're able to remind yourself that you've probably been through something similar before, and you're going to get through whatever it is that you're going through.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, to kind of look back and know that there are people in your power circle that have your best interests at heart, and they also want to see you do well because they've supported you thus far on the journey. And those moments where you're recognized, graduations, distinguished alumni galas, speaking engagements, and different awards and things that you'll get and continue to get, is where you'll see the other people there that they aren't getting honored, but they're just as happy and clap louder than anybody else in the room when they say, and introducing our distinguished alumni, our distinguished speaker, our distinguished honoree for the evening, Dr. Ajamu Loving, and those people are clapping louder than anybody else. And you're like, you know what? There are people that care about me. And that's really what the recognition and the retrospect, I think for me is it, where you just get reminded of all of the positive and the positive that comes from the bad, where it's like, okay, I was down at this point, I was under, but that's when this person showed up, helped me through it, and now we're here. I was broke, and this person loaned me money, and now we're here. I needed somewhere to sleep, and this person offered their couch, and now we're here. I didn't know how I was going to get from here to there, and this person gave me a ride, and now I'm here. Like, all of that comes back, and it was like, even the bad, how you or someone else was able to help you turn it into something positive. That's the true value of recognition and retrospect. And harking back to that old episode of Measuring Progress, we talked about it from a very, I think, kind of technical mental space, but I think this was more so of just like that feel good space, where it's like you gotta, like 3 Stacks said, keep your heart 3 Stacks. You gotta just remind yourself that it's like, it's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Here's everything that lets you know.
Yeah, man. They say no. They say no test, no testimony, right? And so these tests that we've had, they build our portfolio of life, man. And so at those moments when you coming up on the rough side of the mountain, when you spiritual in trouble, you know what I'm saying? When you sit up there, you listening to, when you like, Jesus is my
glory ministry in the car,
and it rides
Mississippi Mass Choir,
bro, you
Chicago
in it, man.
Mass Choir.
When you going through, bro, like those experiences that you had and the way in which you've been brought out of those experiences to experience those successes and honors that you had, make it make it fuel for your confidence and your literally your faith that as things, difficulties come what may, I'm going to face them down. And at the end of it, I'm going to be standing triumphant in the way that has been created for me to stand triumphant. And so that makes it so that you want to do the things that you're supposed to do because you actually can approach them with optimism and the faith that one way or the other is going to end up a success. And you might not see it right at that moment, but the honor will come. And even if it doesn't come, the impact is made, right? You did that thing that you needed to do that will have inextricably and in most cases positively impacted the lives of people around you. And sometimes that impact is immeasurable. But if you happen to work in the type of thing where they can put a little bit of it together and try to at least put some of it on paper and decide that they want to fly you out to a place and give you a dinner, I suggest that you go ahead and take it. You lap it up. You enjoy it. You talk to some of those people that were out there who think so highly of you, and you think about how those things can propel you forward because you interacted again with some people, and people are more important than things that can make an infinitely possible spectrum available to you. Remember, there's no limit to what another person can do. It just depends on the individual you run into. You never know who it is. So just keep on living, keep on loving, keep on being you, keep on being real, and keep on picking up that bread when it's dropped so that you can go ahead and eat later.
And with that, I think that's enough butter on the bread for the day, dog. I sure appreciate you for joining me to make this toast. Hey, y'all can follow us on all our social media at the BREADren Podcast. That's spelled BREADren, like bread, because we always talk about bread and we always getting bread at BREADren Pod on Instagram, the BREADren Podcast series on Facebook. Dr. Ajamu Loving, you can follow him at Dr. Ajamu Loving on Facebook and Loving on Money and You on Facebook, and Dr. Ajamu Loving on Instagram. Follow D Wells, Empower, Engage, Execute, HBCU Pets, hbcupets.com. Go get you some. And LaFlight got a sale going on right now. LaFlight.com, 87, LaFlight87.com. Get you some. But that's going to do it for us here at the BREADren Podcast. Just a slice. We love you and ain't nothing you can do about it. Peace.